Open the repair kit and remove the parts. Using a 13mm socket wrench, remove the handle bolts and set handle and bolts aside. Lay unit on its back with pump system facing you. Loosen hose clamp by unscrewing the bolt. Pull off sprayer hose. Caution, there may be liquid inside the hose and pressure cylinder even if the tank is empty. Next, remove the nut and bolt from the protective cap and remove cap. Loosen the stop plate, but do not remove. The 425 Deluxe sprayer may have 2 stop plates, and the stop plate nearest the handle must be completely removed. For this video, we're using a standard model. Rotate the pump shaft to access the 2 lever bolts in the center. Using a 6mm Allen head wrench, remove them. Pull the piston out of the cylinder. Now remove the pump shaft from the tank frame and be sure to save the washer. To remove the piston cylinder assembly, turn counterclockwise when viewing from the bottom. Wear protective gloves. The next step may be to remove the pressure cylinder. The pressure cylinder should only be removed if the screen is clogged or if there is a leak from where the pressure cylinder and tank meet. Loosen the screw holding the black clamp around the pressure cylinder base with a flat head or torque screwdriver. Remove clamp. Set the tank on the floor, remove the cap and filter basket, and then remove the pressure control knob from on the top of the pressure cylinder. To do this, push the control knob down and rotate it counterclockwise, then lift off. Now, unscrew the valve body and set aside. With one hand holding onto the neck of the tank, grasp the pressure cylinder with your other hand. While moving the pressure cylinder from side to side, push down using your body weight to free the cylinder from the tank. If the cylinder will not push out by hand, use a 12 to 18-inch piece of wood and a heavy hammer. Place a rag on top of the pressure cylinder, then place the piece of wood on the rag. With a few forceful blows, the cylinder will come out of the tank. Put the tank aside for now. Examine the cylinder intake screen to check for dirt and debris. If the screen is clogged, use a toothbrush and mild detergent to clean it. Start by replacing the spring and seal ring in the control knob. Take out the old seal ring and spring, discard. Install the new spring and then insert the sealing ring. If not already removed, unscrew the valve body counterclockwise from the pressure cylinder. Remove the old O-rings from the valve body and install the new ones, making sure the smaller one seats in the groove. Reinstall the valve body into the pressure cylinder by turning clockwise. Then replace the control knob by pushing down and rotating clockwise. Next, remove the large O-ring on the cylinder if it's being replaced. Note, sometimes this O-ring is stretched out and very loose. Take the new O-ring and, starting from the pressure regulator, slide the O-ring down until it is placed in the groove. Do not pull the O-ring over the bottom lip of the pressure cylinder. While replacing the parts on the pump cylinder assembly, check the inside of the pump cylinder for scratches. If the cylinder is scratched, you should replace it. Remove the old valve plate on the outside of the cylinder and the O-ring. You may need a flathead screwdriver for this. Install the new valve plate and the 2 O-rings, making sure the O-rings seat in the groove. Finally, inside the pump cylinder, you'll find a second valve plate. Using long nose pliers, pull out the red or orange pin and remove the valve plate. Install a new valve plate and reseat the retaining pin. Using the needle nose pliers to firmly push the pin into place. Next is the piston. Inspect the piston for damage. If badly scratched, chipped, or worn, replace it. To remove the connecting rods from the piston and lever, insert a flathead screwdriver between the 2 connecting rods and twist. Push the Viton collar off the piston. Install the new Viton collar. Place the 2 connecting rods over the studs on the inside of the piston. Place one of the lever studs into one of the connecting rods and snap together with your fingers. Next, assemble the whole cylinder. First, grease the O-ring on the pump cylinder, being careful not to get any on the valve plate, and then place the pump cylinder into the pressure cylinder. Screw the cylinder clockwise until it is tight and the bottom O-ring is no longer seen. The notch on the pump cylinder must line up with the catch on the pressure cylinder. For the 475 sprayer, the pump housing must be removed to make repairs. Note, if the pressure cylinder is not removed from the tank, it is necessary to rotate the pressure cylinder 180 degrees in order to access all of the 12 screws. First, remove the 12 screws around the flange. The diaphragm is separated from the lever and plunger by inserting the screwdriver into the head of the screw and turning the hex-shaped plunger counterclockwise. Discard the old diaphragm and reassemble with the new one. To remove the valve, use a 1 5/8 inch by 4 inch by 3/16 inch piece of aluminum steel and turn counterclockwise. With the valve out, remove the valve plates and replace them with the new ones, making sure the valve plates move freely. Next, remove and replace O-ring on the valve. The pump housing is separated from the pressure cylinder by pulling it off to replace the O-ring. Remember that it is not necessary to remove the entire pressure cylinder unless the large sealing O-ring has worn out. Reinstall the pump housing by greasing the O-ring and pushing into the pressure cylinder. To reassemble, screw the valve assembly into the housing. Be sure the two inlet holes in the threaded portion of the valve are lined up with inlet holes in the pressure cylinder. If not removed, the 4 holes must be centered and facing the hose nipple. Reinstall the diaphragm and flange with the 12 screws. Note, the rib with solo on the lever should be facing and in line with the hose nipple. Place the tank upside down on the floor and apply grease to the lip of the pressure cylinder and O-ring. Place the pressure cylinder in the tank, lining up the tab on the tank with the notch in the pressure cylinder. Rock the cylinder back and forth while pushing down forcefully. Use an 18-inch piece of 2x4 to apply downward force on the cylinder for final seating. A rack can be used to protect the cylinder. When the cylinder is in place, check that the pressure cylinder O-ring is in its groove. If the O-ring is out of its groove, use a flathead screwdriver to push it gently back into the groove. The pressure cylinder base should now be flush with the tank, and the tab on the tank is aligned with the notch on the pressure cylinder. Replace the black clamp. The nut should fit snugly in the inset. This holds the nut in place as you tighten the screw. Apply a light coat of grease to the inside of the cylinder and on the Viton collar, and then reinstall the piston into the cylinder. Insert the piston at a slight angle with the leading edge of the Viton collar placed where the slot is in the cylinder. Push the piston in, making sure the lever is lined up with the slot. Now slide the pump rod back into the tank frame, making sure you have a washer next to the stop plate, and that the stop plate is on the side opposite where the handle is mounted. Line up the 2 center shaft holes with lever holes and install the 6mm Allen head bolts. Replace the protective cap and tighten the nut and bolt. Reinstall the handle and the second stop plate if required on deluxe models. Retighten the stop plate. Make sure the bolt goes through the rear hole. Replace the hose with the black clamp, making sure it is firmly secured. Finally, water test your sprayer for leaks and functioning before using.